The nation was in shock, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the loss. The date was April 15, 1865, a day that would be etched in the annals of history forever. President Abraham Lincoln, the man who had guided America through its darkest hour, was dead. His leadership had been a beacon of hope. An assassin's bullet had cut short his life, leaving a nation reeling in grief and disbelief. The shockwaves were felt far and wide. Lincoln's death was not just the loss of a president. It was the loss of a symbol of hope, unity, and freedom. The nation was plunged into mourning. His assassination sent shockwaves through a nation still healing from the wounds of the Civil War. The scars of the past were reopened. The man who had vowed to bind up the nation's wounds was gone, leaving behind a legacy etched in both triumph and tragedy. His memory would endure. The nation mourned their fallen leader, a man who had become a symbol of resilience and determination. Newspapers were edged in black, a somber reminder of the nation's grief. People wept openly in the streets, their sorrow uncontained and palpable. Lincoln, the man who had led the country through the tumultuous years of the Civil War, was gone. How could this happen? The question lingered in every heart. How could someone take the life of a man who had given so much for his country? The sense of loss was overwhelming. The assassination of Abraham Lincoln was a tragedy not only for America, but for the cause of freedom and democracy around the world. His legacy would inspire generations to come. Abraham Lincoln's presidency was marked by extraordinary challenges, unlike any faced by his predecessors. The nation was divided by the brutal Civil War, a conflict that pitted brother against brother and threatened to tear the country apart. The year was 1861 when the southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederacy, sparking a bloody conflict. Lincoln, a man of unwavering conviction and quiet determination, took on the monumental task of leading the nation through its darkest hours. He vowed to preserve the Union. He believed that a government of the people, by the people, for the people, should not perish from this earth. He held on to this belief even as the nation was torn apart by war, facing immense pressure and personal loss. Lincoln's journey to the presidency was a testament to his character. Born in a log cabin in Kentucky, he rose from humble beginnings. He was a self-made man. He educated himself, becoming a lawyer and then a politician, driven by a deep sense of justice and equality. His eloquence, wit, and unwavering moral compass propelled him to the national stage, where he became a beacon of hope for many. As president, he faced his greatest challenge, holding the Union together amidst the chaos and bloodshed of war. The Civil War tested his resolve, but he never wavered in his commitment to preserving the nation, ensuring that the United States would emerge stronger and more united. John Wilkes Booth, a renowned actor, was a staunch supporter of the Confederacy. He was not just an actor but a man deeply entrenched in the political turmoil of his time. He believed in the Southern cause with a fiery passion, seeing it as a fight for his homeland's honor and way of life. The outcome of the Civil War filled him with rage and a sense of betrayal. The South's defeat was a personal affront to him. He saw Lincoln as a tyrant, responsible for the South's defeat and the abolition of slavery. To Booth, Lincoln was the embodiment of all that had gone wrong. In Booth's eyes, Lincoln's death was not a crime but a necessary act to save the South and its way of life. He believed it was his duty to act. He plotted to avenge the Confederacy, his hatred for Lincoln festering into a deadly obsession. His plans grew more elaborate and sinister. Booth was not alone in his extremist views. He found many who shared his anger and resentment. He surrounded himself with like-minded individuals who fueled his anger and supported his radical ideas. They met in secret, their conversations filled with bitterness and resentment. These meetings were breeding grounds for their conspiracy. They believed that Lincoln was a threat to their way of life, and that drastic measures were necessary. These meetings sowed the seeds of a conspiracy, a plot to not only kill Lincoln, but to cripple the Union government. They aimed to change the course of history. Booth saw himself as a hero, a savior of the South. He believed his actions would be remembered as those of a patriot. He believed he was destined to act, to right the wrongs he perceived, and to restore what he saw as the true American way of life. Section 4. The Seeds of Conspiracy Plotting Against the President. The conspiracy was multifaceted, a desperate attempt to throw the Union into chaos. Booth, driven by his fanaticism, gathered a group of co-conspirators. There was George Atzerodt, a Confederate sympathizer assigned to kill Vice President Andrew Johnson. Lewis Powell, a young and volatile ex-soldier, was tasked with assassinating Secretary of State William Seward. David Harold, easily influenced by Booth, agreed to be Powell's accomplice. Together they planned to strike a decisive blow against the Union leadership. The conspirators met in secret, their plans shrouded in darkness. They chose their targets carefully, their aim to decapitate the Union government. They believed that by throwing the nation into chaos, they could revive the Confederate cause. Their plot was a desperate gamble, fueled by their hatred for Lincoln and their unwavering belief in the Southern cause. They were willing to sacrifice everything, even their lives, for their twisted ideals. Section 5. The Fateful Night. Assassination at Ford's Theater. The night of April 14, 1865 began like any other in Washington, D.C. The city was slowly recovering from the war. People were eager for a return to normalcy. At Ford's Theater, a crowd gathered for a performance of Our American Cousin. President Lincoln and his wife Mary Todd Lincoln were in attendance. They occupied a private box, eager for an evening of respite from the weight of the presidency. The play commenced, the actors' voices filling the theater. Unbeknownst to the unsuspecting audience, John Wilkes Booth was lurking in the shadows. He had learned of Lincoln's presence at the theater and saw it as a sign, his moment to act. He stealthily made his way to the president's box, his heart pounding with a deadly mix of fear and determination. He was about to change the course of history. Section 6. A Nation in Shock. The Aftermath and Manhunt. A shot rang out, piercing the air. The audience gasped, startled by the sudden noise. John Wilkes Booth had fired his single-shot Derringer, the bullet striking Lincoln in the back of the head. Chaos erupted as Booth leaped from the president's box, shouting, "Sic semper tyrannis!" Latin for, "Thus always to tyrants!" He landed on the stage, breaking his leg in the process, and disappeared into the night. The nation awoke to the devastating news. Lincoln, their beloved president, was dead. Grief, anger, and disbelief swept across the nation. The government, still fragile from the war, swung into action. A massive manhunt for John Wilkes Booth and his co-conspirators commenced. The nation held its breath, desperate for justice. Section 7. Lincoln's Enduring Legacy, a Martyr for Freedom and Unity. The assassination of Abraham Lincoln was a turning point in American history. It marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. Lincoln's death sent shockwaves through the nation and the world. His legacy as the great emancipator, the man who held the Union together and ended slavery, was solidified. He became a martyr for the cause of freedom and unity. Lincoln's words that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from this earth, resonated deeply. His vision for a united and free America continued to inspire generations to come. The nation mourned the loss of its leader but found strength in his legacy. Abraham Lincoln, the man who guided America through its darkest hour, lived on in the hearts and minds of his countrymen.